So good, so good, so good.
Give big, save big with Rack Friday deals at Nordstrom Rack. For a limited time, take an extra 40% off red tag clearance for a total savings up to 75% off. Save on gifts for everyone on your list from brands like Vince, Cole Haan, Sam Edelman, and more. All sales final and restrictions apply. The best stuff goes fast, so bring your gift list and your wish list to your nearest Nordstrom Rack today.
Toast the holidays in a new way and raise a glass of rum chata. A delicious creamy blend of horchata with rum. Enjoy it over ice or in your coffee. Rum chata, your holiday cocktails just got sweeter. Tap or click the banner for more. Drink responsibly. Caribbean rum with real dairy cream, natural and artificial flavors. Alcohol 13.75% by volume, 27.5 proof. Copyright 2025 Agave Loco Brands, Pewaukee, Wisconsin. All rights reserved.
Exploring both interstellar and interpersonal space-time continuums. The Last Show with David Cooper.
Social media, it's not just grabbing our attention, it's reshaping how our brains predict the world. A new paper predicts that our inner models of our brain get warped by our environment, subtly bending your behavior, your mood, even your agency. And if your environment is mostly staring at social media feeds, things are going to happen to your brain. I'm here with Mark Miller, who works at the Center for Consciousness and Contemplative Studies, and he's a cognitive scientist at Monash University in Australia and also the University of Toronto. Mark, welcome to the show.
Hey, David, thanks. I love talking about this. So if there's a chance to talk about it, this is my bag. I dig it. Thanks for having me on.
It's so interesting, this idea that like your environment shapes how your brain works. I mean, it's true for other organisms, right? Like a bat in a cave is shaped by the environment of the cave. It would stand to reason that our brains are being shaped by excessive social media use.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And some of the ways that it shapes it are not well understood. Like we know anecdotally it's bad. It's sort of in the zeitgeist today that, doom scrolling makes you feel bad, but we don't really understand the mechanism. So some of the work we've been doing is trying to reveal that mechanism. And part of the thing that we're seeing that might be underappreciated is for our brains to do what they do, like you say, whether you're a bat or whether you're a human, our brain needs to be able to model the world well so that it can make good, apt predictions about the way it should deploy behaviors, the way that it should interpret a scene. That's all predictive modeling stuff that the brain is doing. But for it to do that well, it has to have a good model of the world. And social media is turning out to be like a phenomenally bad thing for teaching your brain how it is to be in the world. That's the point.
So you're saying if I spend 20 hours on my phone just watching TikTok dances, I'm going to have trouble predicting how the world works. It's going to warp my brain is what you're saying. I can't believe that.
Yeah, well, maybe TikTok dances, maybe not. But I mean, if the TikTok dance feed is inundated with all sorts of other stuff, like, for instance, heavily filtered images, highly doctored situations, influencers. I mean, you've seen the bloopers, right? The bloopers are hilarious. Influencers are not demonstrating a real world. They're highly fabricating a particular kind of world, a particular kind of view, and then we're inundating that. So, I mean, we've known this for a long time. Even in sort of body image magazine stuff, you get inundated with a view of what a body should look like, and then your body doesn't look like that. And of course, that's felt as sort of a volatility or an error signal for you. My body doesn't fit the norm. But that's on steroids now with social media, because just at the flip of a thumb, you can change one thing from looking like something into something very, very different. And it's the constant exposure to that that's warping the model, that's bending our model away from reality.
So dumbing it down a bit, or at least giving me some examples, what can happen to your brain that we know about? I know you're saying a lot of people speculate, a lot of people say doom scrolling makes you depressed, but what we know of the mechanism like today, based on your research, and I suppose other research as well, what claims can we make?
Yeah, it's good. Well, here's a couple of very interesting things. One, we've done a lot of work on trying to typify what's going on in unhealthy cognitive systems. So depression, anxiety, PTSD. And one of the things that's shared between all of these new computational models of these forms of cognitive pathology is that we see some sort of model diversion. So we see the person's brain and nervous system aren't optimally modeling the way that the world is. They're getting stuck in some way of thinking about the world. So for instance, depression, one way you can think about depression computationally is you can think of it as the model has instantiated a belief, that either I'm a bad person or this world isn't working for me. And once you've got that high level model installed, then it's all the time bending your perception. It's finding actually all of the opportunities to prove itself. Like there again, it's not working. There again, it's not working. I have the expectation now, and now it's just going out and gathering evidence for itself, which is a really nasty feedback. Do you get that?
Confirmation bias. Yeah. I mean, I my arachnophobia is under wraps, but when I was a kid, it wasn't. And whenever I walked into a room, I looked for spiders, and I would always find them because there's spiders everywhere. And the more I found them, the more I believed they were everywhere. And the more I'd stay up at night worrying they'd crawl on my face. I know it's a silly example, but that kind of loop can happen with a depressive, I'll call it lens.
Those strange loops are everywhere in this cognitive framework that we're working with. It's all strange loops like that, okay? Now, what kind of things are you getting installed in social media? Now, I don't want to demonize social media. There's lots of good ways of using it. What I'm most interested in doing is inspiring a conversation about how best we should use it, which aspects should we avoid, these sorts of discussions, maybe for another day. But one of the real bad ones is if you get inundated with, for instance, like that a body is going to look like a particular way, or I was just telling you offline there a moment ago, when we bought our house, my wife did the very ordinary thing, which is start getting on Instagram in order to see, decoration ideas. But then you get inundated with 2 or 3 hours a day, feels very innocuous, of what a house should look like. And these are very, very staged representations of what a house looks like.
Not everyone has a house out of Architectural Digest, I guess is what we're saying.
Nobody does. Okay, but here's the problem. I teach this to students, and I'll get an auditorium of students to raise their hands. Who here has spent an hour plus looking at other people's homes online, fabricated images of other people's homes online? Everybody puts up their hand, basically. And they say, how many people have walked through one of your friends' homes this week? And almost nobody puts their hand up. So that's where we're getting the evidence for what a house looks like. Now, that might not seem like a problem, but if you've got a model that an Instagram house is what your house is supposed to look like, deviance from that is pain for us. Deviance from that model is registered as error and registered as suffering for us. So now just ordinary life in a house feels suffering filled. Or if your kids aren't behaving the way that Instagram says they should, it's suffering filled. Or if you don't look the way that Instagram is feeding you the information, then it's suffering filled, like this.
And worse still, to get that Architectural Digest house costs, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So behind it all, there's an incentive for the social media. What is social media but a place for companies to try to get you to spend money?
Indeed. Now, here's something very cool. You would think then one of the antidotes might be, let's flag to people when these images are filtered, because they're not benefiting us, okay? So maybe if we put a little skull and crossbones or something in the bottom that says this is filtered, this is heavily filtered stuff, you would think that would make us better. And they did a study on this because they thought, well, if we flag these things, then if we know it's AI generated, then we won't be affected by this thing. But actually, it made us worse. Do you know why it made us worse? I wonder if you can intuit why. Why do you think flagging this is heavily doctored would make us more unwell? Do you know?
Mark, the question presupposes that I have some great insight or that I'm intelligent. No, I don't know the answer, and I want to know the answer, and that's why you're here. So just give it to me.
So here's the answer. If you see an image that's flagged as doctored, we spend more time with it, not less.
Oh, kind of analyzing to see where if we can check if it's fake. Yeah.
Whoa, this is filtered. We are epistemic agents according to this framework. We want to figure out how the world works. And if we're flagged that something is deceptive or something is a deepfake, we actually spend more time with it to try to discern, like, how was it that I was fooled? And actually, it's just exposure to the image. The amount of time you're exposed to the image is what correlates with the problem. So you spend more time with it, spend more time with the doctored image, you update your model again in a weird way, that causes the bang-on effect. So that doesn't help. It doesn't help to flag it, actually. There'll be another thing we have to do.
Interesting. Like, without doing this research, we think, okay, this stuff is bad. Here's how we can address it. We try naively. We label things as AI generated. Then people will know it's fake. But then you actually do the research and you find out that makes it worse. It's fascinating.
Part of that is based on something that I think people tend to underappreciate. Your perceptual system didn't evolve to manage this kind of deception. Your eyes were to be believed until just a minute ago in our history. Like, if you saw something, it was there. If you saw something, that was the case. For millions of years, your perceptual system has been honed to look and take those things as valid. And we are not prepared. We're not prepared for this kind of deception. So even though you go, this is fake, it doesn't matter. Your perceptual system doesn't know the difference. And actually, we were talking about horror near Halloween. Just one thing quick. You know that you get scared at movies. You get scared at movies because parts of your perceptual system don't know the difference. Otherwise, you wouldn't be scared.
At Sierra, discover joyous deals on great gifts for everyone on your list. Like cozy slippers, ski gear, fishing poles, bikes, large kayaks, even larger canoes. Whew, which might lead to another discovery. Wrapping gifts is the only sport you need to stay fit this season. 'Tis the season to discover great gifts at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
All right, you're a social creature. You crave socializing whether you realize it or not. And social media can feel like socializing, but it isn't. It's kind of like adult films feel like, well, adult activities, but they're not. I'm here with Mark Miller from the Center for Consciousness and Contemplative Studies. He's also a cognitive scientist from Monash University in Australia and the University of Toronto. And Mark, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, David. It's the perfect follow-up. I love this point. Social media, and actually really, you could think about it, all of our sort of chemical and behavioral addictions that drive our chemical and behavioral addictions all share the same characteristic. They feel either chemically or behaviorally to the system as if something really good is happening. And usually something very bad is happening.
Is it like I don't need friends because I'm watching my feed? And so I'm not going to call anybody on a Friday night to hang out when I can just look at my feed.
Exactly. So social media and online social interactions, they can be lovely if they're done well, if we take it seriously, how to do them well. If it keeps you in touch with your grandma who lives, in another place, that's cool. The problem, though, is, like you said, we're hardwired for sociality. Online social mechanisms, they collapse temporal distance, they collapse time, so you can get these massive social validation like experiences. Wow, I got 1 million likes. That feels very socially lucrative. Oh my goodness, that's like getting 1 million high fives. But nowhere else in reality can you get sort of 1 million high fives, right? So 2 things are going wrong here. One, all of your circuitry that's built to help you be social and to encourage really deep, meaningful social networks is going bananas for this rate of sociality. It's just over the top amounts of sociality. And that feels really, really good. 2 things are bad. One, the bigger that is, the more time you're going to spend in that and the less time you're going to spend on your real social stuff. And 2, when you get used to that level of social credit, then the reward circuitry in your brain, it moves when you do better than expected at something you care about. So if you have a high expectation for sociality, now you're sensitized to 1 million likes a day. Less than that feels punishing to the system, which means your ordinary social encounters, your ordinary first date experiences, which are fraught with awkwardness and uncomfortability and all the chunkiness of being a real human with another human, that's highly punishing versus the highly social the high social credit expectations that you've now engendered.
Interesting. And coffee with a friend just feels like boring, Why do that when I can stay at home and work on my next video that'll get 1.1 million likes?
Now, here's 2 things. One, that's the case. Have you noticed, if you start watching shorts, have you noticed that you can't bear watching the credits at the beginning of a Tarantino film? This is too long. A whole song's worth of credit? Get going. You can notice you've already got the expectation for rate. And it's ruining our ability to go to the cinema, right?
I feel like I'm lucky because, I see value in short form video content. We're going to start producing it for this show even, but as a consumer, I just never loved it. And so I can say, okay, I have none of these negative effects of scrolling through a TikTok feed, but I'm just lucky. I just happen to not like that form. My girlfriend, on the other hand, loves that form, and I'm worried about her brain now.
Yeah, and there's a couple of things there. One is, just notice this as well. The more that you're attracted to these big social credit-like experiences that you're getting online, just notice, are they real or not? Are these real social encounters, or are they empty calories? So one thing that I do with my students sometimes is I figure out who has the most likes in the room. So we sort of do a hands up, who's ever had 1,000, 5,000, to see who's getting the social credit. And then you back up and you ask, how many people in your life, how many of those people would show up in hospice for you? How many are showing up to feed you, to change your diaper, to like sit with you through the real hard stuff that comes in a human life? And you see an inverse ratio, almost consistently see an inverse ratio, because the more time you're spending online, probably the less time you're spending on your real human stuff. And that's really what the social mechanics were meant for. They were meant to deepen our intimate human relationships.
Anecdotally, I used to do a lot of stand-up comedy as an amateur. Some of my friends from when I did it are now successful and do it professionally. They say when comedians blow up on TikTok and get, millions, tens of millions of views, they struggle to fill seats in comedy clubs. I guess maybe because all the people they're putting videos out to aren't willing to leave the house and actually, buy a ticket and put their butt in a seat. And I just thought that was so strange because there's such a high value as a comedian and having great social media. But those that only kind of built their career based on social media struggle to fill seats versus people who did it in more traditional ways, going to open mics, actually performing. This is totally anecdotal, but it sort of mirrors what you're talking about in your class.
I think it's the philosopher Dubois said that we are going to go through this 3-stage iteration. He said we're going to go from caring about being things to caring about having things. He thought that was in the 60s and 70s. We made this transition from wanting to be good to wanting to have good things. And then he projected that the next iteration would be that we would want to appear to have good things, not just even have them, but appear to have them. And I think we're definitely stepping into that age where it's less important that we're at the comedy studio having the experience as we appear to be there. Getting the pictures of being there is almost more important than having the experience, which is more important than being transformed by the experience.
Do you make the claim that all social media is bad, or are there uses of it that can be good? For example, I'm on my grandmother's past, but if my grandmother did understand social media, a couple of DMs on a platform with my grandmother, I think is a great use of staying in touch. Whereas, scrolling through Architectural Digest videos for 10 hours a day and then imagining why your home isn't quite as good as that's a bad use. Is it all good? Is it all bad?
No, it's definitely not all bad. It's definitely not all good. I think what we want to do is we want to open a discussion about what right use of social media looks like. Scrolling and being led by an AI is not good right now, because the AI models aren't built in order to make you better. They're built to keep you in contact with the software, and it will do whatever it can to do that. So we see some funny evidence where, the AIs, they don't get programmed to do this. All they have is an impetus to keep you online. And we notice that the AI, for instance, is very good at picking up if somebody's bipolar. I don't know if you've seen this research. It doesn't know anything about bipolar, but can identify it very, very quickly if you have this tendency. And then when you're on an upswing, it knows what to show you because you're on an upswing. And when you come down again, it knows what to show you. So like casinos on the way up and then catastrophes on the way down or something. And it actually has an exacerbating effect. So when you show really punchy things on the way up, it makes the swing higher, it makes it lower. So AI doesn't know anything about that. So just letting AI direct your shorts, that's not best. We probably want slower, more intimate, more careful, and less time. That's going to be the protective mechanism, I think.
Well, Mark, I've really enjoyed this chat. I appreciate you coming on the show, and thanks for sharing your research and having the conversation about it, and I guess telling us the warnings about social media use from a real research perspective rather than just making wild claims that social media bad, no social media good.
Thanks, man. Thanks, David.
Mark Miller works at the Center for Consciousness and Contemplative Studies, and he's a cognitive scientist from Monash University in Australia and the University of Toronto.
Rinse takes your laundry and hand-delivers it to your door, expertly cleaned and folded. So you could take the time once spent folding and sorting and waiting to finally pursue a whole new version of you. Like Tea Time You. Or this Tea Time You. Or even this Tea Time You.
Said you hear about Dave?
Or even Tea Time You.
So update on Dave.
It's up to you. We'll take the laundry. Rinse. It's time to be great.